Alright, you guys, welcome back to some more Hello Lady. We are in Saku's route right now. She was being targeted last episode for looking into Mitori's death. So she went a little too far down the rabbit hole, and now someone is trying to get rid of her from either from the academy or somewhere else. I'm not entirely sure, but we're gonna have to protect her. And let's go ahead and keep moving on here. We returned to the dorm shortly after our discussion on the road. After that night, we come to understand each other and began cooperating, if you could call it that. We waited until the lectures ended and began our temporary detective work, or perhaps spy work was more appropriate.
エルはどうしているのかね。君が私と行動を共にしていると知ったら、それこそ後をつけて聞かねないが。
Yeah, I'm really surprised Arrow hasn't noticed.
時の先生の指示でしばらくの間成田にいろいろと教えることがあるからって言い訳したわ。以前エスコートもしたから一応納得してくれたみたい。
Alright, fair enough. Saku and I entered the inner garden. The bright light of early summer vividly colored the modern school building and made it look so pristine you would have never think that it had a dark shadow. Apparently, the Academy incorporated a lot of glass into its construction because it made it appear more open, thereby granting mental stability. Yeah, I just like natural light too, so I don't blame them for doing that. It's nice little touch. On the Academy's grounds, the contact lens reality interface supported us with AR in various ways. For example, if you linked it with a device and punched in the name of a location or a person, the system charted a path to them or set up a call. However, the information we were looking for was hidden by the system.
サク、どうして彼女は消えたのだと思う？
That's a good question. We should see what she's gathered so far.
そんなの見当もつかない。
Painful memories made Saku hang her head and place her hand on her large chest. Oh, we're still doing that, huh? Still having to add little details like that aren't necessary, but Narita adds them anyways, which swayed with heartache. However, there was no despair in her gaze. She remembered not in an attempt to shut herself in sadness, but to face it head on.
学籍離脱の直後に病死している。できすぎた話だ。仮にスクールが関与しているとすれば、その理由は、あるいはこれまでにも同じようなことが起きているのではないのかね。
Yeah, she's not the first, that's for sure.
ミトリ以外にも学籍を離れた人は何人もいるけど、
その中にミトリと同じ状況の者はいなかったろうか。学籍を離れた後に病気や事故で死亡しているケースは。
Well, would she know that? Because when Mitori left, they just said that she was going back to her family for like a family emergency or something. They didn't say that she was killed.
その一部、あるいは全てがミトリと同じことになっていた可能性はある。
I don't know, unless she's found out something about somebody else.
そんな。
That was mere conjecture on my part, but it made sense. If Mitori had merely vanished, then they were likely concealing some unexpected incident. Still, the way they handled it felt far too perfect. And in that case, the only possible explanation was that they were used to it. I was almost certain that they'd repeated that act many times already. Though I found it hard to believe we would find any useful information if we merely looked through the accessible data and searched for those who had left the academy.
スクールの理事長である黒船の影響力は絶大だが、人一人消してしまうのは相応にリスキーだよ。特にこの国のように安定した社会ではね。
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these people that we think are dead aren't. Like maybe they're still experimenting with them. You know, we have like the onslaught syndrome and slider syndrome. We have all these different things. Like maybe they're just experimenting with them and like causing those things. Or we learned about this in Aru's route. We learned about like what is it called? When they go back to like their original HMI form, like it's something devil, and I can't remember. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're experimenting with that too. Like obviously we're not the only ones to know about it.
一度ではなく何度もであるのなら何をか言わんや。できなくはないが、できればしたくない。
それだけの危ない橋を渡ってもあえてする理由となるといよいよ見当もつかない。はい、でも 兜山家なのよ。
As much as I want to say I do, I don't really know much about her family. Like, the only thing we really learned about Mitori, like, besides, like, that one time we did choreography and fodder, is we learned a little bit about her family during that ball. And that was, like, right before she, like, disappeared, right? Towards the end of the common route. Sako understood what I was getting at and essentially finished my train of thought, then tilted her head again. Yes, the Kabutoyamas were a major family in Kyushu. If they made a fuss, Kurofune had no means to avoid it. Had he done it while aware of the dangers of making them an enemy? Or was Mitori the only one who hadn't known, and those around her had settled it long before the fact?
やはり学園の深部にたどり着く以外になさそうだな。
I mean, I thought we did that a long time ago, Narita, but sure, let's do it.
どういう意味？
Saku, what do you mean? You know about this dark underbelly. This should not be a surprise to you after all your research you've been doing. When Saku raised her voice, I brought my face closer to hers, as if we were lovers. Ooh, okay.
くっつきすぎ。
I whispered into her ear after looking down at her glorious chest until I was satisfied. Is this how this route's gonna go? We're just gonna constantly look at her chest to make comments about it? Is this really how we want to be, Narita? Is this who we are?
声を潜めたまえ。会話をモニターされているかもしれない。
I think the worst part of it too is he's doing it while he's having a serious moment because he's trying to make sure that like no one's listening in, right? But he's like, I gotta stare at her chest, and then we get to the important stuff.
どこから？誰が？
By pretty much anybody that we don't exclusively trust. I mean, pretty much this whole academy's against us because we're looking into the secrets that we shouldn't be, but we are, because that's what we should do. Saku suddenly went silent and looked around. However, the manner in which she did it appeared odd, as if she was trying to act natural but failing.
君にはもう少し芝居っ気が必要だな。
Yeah, well, like, you're the insignia of the school. Like, you're supposed to be, like, probably the most prim and proper person here. And usually you are. I don't know why you're acting so nervous all of a sudden. Probably because she really likes Narita, I'm gonna be honest with you.
この学園のセキュリティは君たちが考えている以上に限界なのだよ。単に外部からの侵入を阻むだけではなく、内部での行動はほぼ完璧に記録されている。
I mean, I wouldn't even say that's a secret, though. Like, they have in your AR, you can track all the students on there. So, just imagine if the students are able to track people like that, what can the higher-ups do? They probably have even more information than that.
それはそうでしょうね。
Oddly enough, the truth didn't surprise Saku much. I mean, it
驚かない
shouldn't.
のかね。まるでモルモットのようだと。
文句を言いたいところはあるけど、 HMI がある意味で爆弾なのは事実よ。私、そういう HMI を何人も近くで見たことがある。
Saku, you know, I've seen a pretty dangerous HMI too, and I'm looking at her. She freaking was trying to kill me and all my friends. I don't know if you remember that. It wasn't too long ago. But, you know, I guess you wouldn't remember.
今の社会で私たちは怪物だから。理事長はそれを可能性と呼んで意味があると言ってくれた。
I mean, possibilities is pretty vague, right? I feel like you have the possibility to do a lot of things, right? But that doesn't mean you're going to.
社会もルールも考え方も私たちの存在に何一つ追いついていない。すべて手探り。今のスクールのやり方はベストではなくてもベターだと私は信じるわ。
What it does isn't the best, but it's better. That's what I think anyways.
黒船はスクールの創設者だ。当然その暗部においてもおそらくは。
I mean, if he just, like, got hired on to be the head of the academy, that would be different, right? But like you said, he's the one who established the academy. He built it this way on purpose. Like, he is involved at the highest level. He's probably the one who's orchestrated everything that's at this darker part of it. So, yeah, I don't think we should rule that out by any means.
そうね。
I don't think it's possible at all that he's not involved. The somewhat cynical implication that Kurofune, the person who Saku believed in, was behind Mitori's death made Saku nod, then hang her head.
成田、あなたの口ぶり、もしかして帝理事長のことを以前から知ってるの？
プライベートな質問はまた後日に願おう。それよりも
Ah, the deflect. Why do you want to talk about that, Narita? It's almost like you know him pretty well. Talking to Saku seemed to lower my guard. I changed the subject before she pressed the matter.
学園に隠された真実があるのなら、黒船の糸にも隠された目的があるはずだ。HMI を保護、開発支援し、ノーブルにするという名目の真意が何であるのか。それを突き止めれば、おのずと全ての真相は見えてくるだろう。
I mean, I feel like he's kind of said what his motives are. Like, he's really trying to progress humanity, right? And, like, I don't feel like his motivation needs to be too much more than that. Like, maybe he can explain it better, but I feel like that's an okay motivation. Like, in his own twisted way, that's what he feels like will accomplish that, right? And I think, and maybe someone will disagree with me here, is I really think that Kurofune, in his own, twisted way, does actually care for the students of the academy, right? Now, I'm not saying he's not willing to, to kill them off or to do things that would go against what they would want, but I think he actually does care about them. He really does believe that they have this potential, right? I don't think that's just a bunch of BS. But, that doesn't excuse all the bad things he's been doing. I think we're going to get to see a lot more of who he is and what his motives are a little bit here pretty soon. At least that's what I'm hoping. Because we've gotten bits and pieces there. Like, I found it interesting where he was trying to get Narita to, like, kind of join him, and go along with his ideals. I think that was last route, right? But I thought that was a very interesting moment. I actually really liked that. Because it gave me a little bit more insight to the kind of person he is. Like, he actually does want to do some good, but he's doing it in a terrible way.
理事長に直接問いただすわけはないわよね。他にそれがわかりそうなところというと、
Yes. Yes, please. I want to see Saku help him break in there. Because Saku is so much stronger than Tamao. It's so clear.
そこでは不十分だ。
I just want to see them do some crazy crap this run. Like, it's going to be so good. This route's going to be awesome. I've heard it gets real wild too, so. Takashi Hanazono had already stolen some of the information on the research building's central
こ
server.
こには200人の HMI がいる。秘密を完全に保持するのは難しい。これまで大きな問題が起きていない以上、よほど慎重にことを運んでいるのだろう。
Oh yeah, of course.
スクールで学生も教員も一般の研究員も近づけないような場所というと、
研究棟の S4 区画か、そうでなければ。
Saku looked at a certain point beyond the rose garden. She gazed at a forest that had been there since before the academy was built. Yeah, isn't that the oh, I'm sorry. For some reason I was thinking the research building was the plant. And I was like mixing them up. I'm like, yeah, this is where I want them to go. A blade-like structure poked out of the green canopy. The windowless tower they called the plant.
ここの学生や一般の研究員クラスにはあそこで何をやっているのか正確には知らされていないわ。
You know,
危険な研究とだけ。
it's pretty crazy that we went in there in Tamao's route, which was our first route, right? Like, we've already, like, seen in there. But I really don't think we've seen in there. I think there's a lot more going on in there. And I'm hoping that what they're implying right now is they're going to go break in and we're going to get to see some stuff. Especially with Saku's help. Saku, the strongest HMI. Like, we can do it. We can totally break in there this time. Like, I mean, with Tamao, we still could do it, right? But, like, Saku, piece of cake.
地下に施設があるらしいけど、近づけるのは時の先生やごく限られた人間だけだし、当然私も入ったことはない。
You know, we should freaking take Tokino in there too. I want her to like explain some things to us.
確かに警戒は恐ろしく厳重だった。
But, you know, I believe in Saku.
ちょっとまさか過去形立ち入り禁止だって言われてたでしょ
Yeah, we've already been there a few times. What do you mean?
好奇心を抑えられない男なのだよこの私は。
That's very apparent.
なのだよじゃねえでしょうが
Uh-oh. That's not the person you want interrupting your conversation. As Saku sighed in exasperation, I swiftly embraced her and made us look like truly passionate lovers.
うわどさくさに紛れて何すんの話せ変態
Whoa, okay. In situations like that, Saku acted like a normal girl her age, which I found most endearing. I moved my face ever closer as if to whisper sweet nothings into her ear.
監視って
A maid had walked down the brick path next to the rose garden. Her steps were fast but rather inelegant.
帝大義のメイドじゃないまあメイドの一人かな全部で何人いるのかしら
Wait. I think I was told that we're gonna find out more about them in this route too. Heck yes. This route's gonna be so good. I mean, it's already been great, like, don't get me wrong. But, like, oh, there's a lot more secrets to go around. I need to know.
あれは理事長のメイドでもある。
そうね何かしてるところを見たことがあるわ
We're breaking into the plant, baby. Let's freaking go. I want to find out everything.
そういう意味じゃない
I don't think that's what we meant.
そういう意味とはどういう意味なのかぜひ聞いてみたいのだが後にしよう。じっとしていたまえ。相手は理事長の手駒つまりは敵だ。
That is true.
でもメイドさんなんでしょ
No. No. The maid nonchalantly examined the flowers next to the path.
いかんな。
成田どうかしたの
君の手を借りねばならない。
Heck yes, we need Saku's assistance. Let's go.
それは別にいいけど
With the approval given, I did what I had to do. I'd claimed her lips. Dang. Lots of, like, straight up romance in this. She opened her eyes, acting as if the world was ending. Shocked to the core, she panicked, resisted, and struggled. I continued despite her best efforts. It looked as though I was merely embracing her, but her joints were fixed in place so she couldn't move. She continued struggling, however. I was left with no choice. I calmed her by taking a deep breath and deepening the kiss. I used my tongue to hit all the right spots. Whoa. I sucked on her tongue, then lightly bit on it. Whoa, Narita. I didn't know you were so experienced with women, my guy. It was truly a deep kiss. She eventually stopped resisting. Our saliva mingled and her throat moved as she swallowed it. This sounds so wrong, though. So bad. She clung to my uniform and let it happen. I had emerged victorious.
よし。
I could have done without all those sounds, but, you know, we did what we needed to do. The dangerous moment had passed, so I let her go. Saku faltered and collapsed on the spot like a marionette with its strings cut. Perhaps my sense of victory was a mere illusion.
これでいいのだ。
Yeah, freaking, I'm sure you're fine with it, Narita. She probably wasn't fine with it.
いいわけあるか
That was funny. Saku regained her senses, stood up, and tried to strangle me before I even knew what happened.
やめたまえ。とても苦しい。このままではバラではない花畑が見えてしまう。
I mean, I have no idea what you thought was going to happen, my guy.
なんてことするの初めてだったのにこんないきなりするならするで先に言いなさいよ
I mean, we were your first for a lot of things so far.
手を借りるとはそういう意味だったのだが、詳細な説明をしなかったのは確かに私のミスだ。言えば問題はなかったのだね。 では今後そうしよう。
Yeah, like, it's fine if you sexually harass me, just as long as you tell me beforehand. So it's not a surprise.
いや、それはそうじゃなくて、それよりも。
For some reason, Saku reddened and looked away. Her fingers fidgeted in front of her large, swaying breasts. Sorry, I just needed to get that out. Eventually, she glared at me with evident anger in her eyes. The emotion made her tremble, which made her shapely breast shake yet again. Okay.
無事にごまかせたようだ。
何が無事によ。私ちっとも無事じゃ。って何の話？
Gosh, Saku, get with the program here.
君は知らないようだから教えておくが、理事長のメイドは専門の訓練を受けている。
I would say it's a little bit more than special training. They're literally inhuman monsters.
専門訓練？
I would say there's some special experimentation that happened there. She appeared not to understand what I was talking about. That made sense. She may have been the Academy's insignia, but she was still a normal person.
戦闘技術のだ。つまりスキルを持ったプロということだよ。メイドとしては雅にかける二流ところなのだがね。
I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if they have, like, mastered, or they have that, like, onslaught syndrome thing, if they've, like, kind of mastered a way to control somebody who's under the influence of that, where they can, like, get out all that, like, latent power, while at the same time making them completely obedient. We're gonna have to see.
そうなの？
Curious.
何気なくこの辺りを動き回っているように見せていたが、明らかに我々を警戒していた。会話もおそらく聞かれていたはずだ。
どういう意味？いくら専門家でもあんな距離で聞こえるはずが。
HMI でありエトワールである君がそんな固定観念にとらわれているのかね。人間は訓練次第で驚くべき力を発揮するし、この距離で集音を可能にする指向性集音マイク程度ならさほど珍しい代物でもない。
Yeah, I mean, even if you take out the whole HMI thing, there's people who could do that for sure.
もっともあのメイドたちはそんなおもちゃを必要としないだろうが。
まさか HMI？ でもそんなこと大義も今まで一度だって。
He hasn't mentioned a lot of things. You'd be surprised. I'd only realized myself moments ago that maid's movements and reaction times were clearly inhuman. They had to be why they accompanied Kurofune and Taigi. They were bodyguards first, maid second.
実際以前に見た時のメイドはごく普通だった。おそらく玉緒と似たタイプなのだろうね。スイッチを入れて身体機能を拡張する。護衛よりは暗殺向きの素材だな。
I mean, they're pretty multi-purpose, I would say. I feel like you said, they're bodyguards first and then maid second. I feel like they have a lot of different functions, whether that's, fighting or whether that's spying. They can do a lot of things.
じゃあさっきの
Yeah, I'm sorry. It wasn't very romantic. We'll make it up to you, I promise.
そう。見張りをやり過ごす理由付けだ。人目をはばかって若い二人が相引きというのは、こんな場所にいる理由としてはいかにもとは思わないかね。
そうか。そんなことのために私を恥ずかしめたのか。
Hey, don't pretend you didn't like it, okay? You resisted at first, but you gave in not too long after. Saku seemed to accept my reasoning, but then she looked up at the distant sky like an elite secretary to the CEO of a multinational corporation who was using her sickly mother to blackmail her into performing indecent acts. Her hard-to-read nature proved most troubling.
さて、話の続きだが、日中に近づくのは無理だ。続きは夜にしよう。拉致を開けるために私は今夜あのプラントに近づいてみる。君はどうする？サク。
Heck yeah, I want Saku to come with me.
今夜。
Heck yeah.
行くに決まってるでしょ。
Saku, that was the answer I wanted to freaking hear.
さすがは音無しサクだ。では準備を整える。また後ほど。
Oh, we're already going into the plant, baby. This route's already so good. I turned around, fully energized, and walked off on my own. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I'm so excited.
言っちゃった。まったく。1から10まで勝手なんだから。
Wait, hold up. We're getting something from her perspective? Interesting. After dinner, Saku enjoyed a piece of candy while gazing at the clock next to her pillow. It was almost time to sleep, which was also the time she and Narita had agreed on. The truth he'd revealed had devastated her. The harsh reality that she couldn't catch up to Mitori, and the regret due to being unable to help her ravaged Saku's heart. She wondered if she could have prevented it if she remained more alert. But such questions were meaningless, for the past was set in stone. There was no point looking back. She didn't plan to merely forget her failures and what she had lost, but what she had to do was ahead, not in the past. She clenched her teeth and looked up. This time, it would be different. With the intensity of flame, she convinced herself of that over and over.
どうかしましたか?
Saku's worry showed on her face, so Ero, who was cleaning up the dinner plates, had asked that question.
別にちょっと考え事してただけよ。エル、大義は何か問題を起こしたりしてない？自分の豆を勝手に食いやがったので許せません。今から死なせようと思います。
I think we should put him on the chopping block. We should hang him. We should do something. That's absolutely unforgivable. How could you eat her beans without permission? Taigi, you've gone too far this time. Like, that's what we're gonna do in this route. We're gonna kill off Taigi because he's more ruthless than Kurofune ever was. I'm just kidding.
そういう問題じゃなくて、大義もあれと同じくおかしなやつね。
I mean, yeah. Are you now just realizing this? Taigi's always been kind of weird. If the Academy had secrets, then Taigi, as the chairman's son, probably knew something. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think he knows everything, but he knows something, for sure. However, during his 2 weeks in the dorm, he hadn't actually done anything strange. Well, as far as Saku knew anyways. Taigi had been around the Academy since before Saku, and he was always in a strange position where he was neither a student nor a staff member. Rumors had claimed he was an HMI. That turned to fact once he joined the Etoilas, but nobody had an idea what halo he had. Perhaps that was an exaggeration. Even before he moved to the dorm, Saku knew of something that seemed like his halo. Taigi often provided predictions. He could tell people exactly what people were hiding and warn them about upcoming events. In fact, one such warning was a few years ago. He had actually saved Saku. One such warning from a few years ago had actually saved Saku. Sorry, it wasn't him who saved her, but the warning did. Upon hearing of the chairman's son, Saku imagined some sort of lazy libertine. But over the past few years, she gained a vague understanding of Taigi as he was under his shell. Taigi was merely disinterested. The world, the academy, the people, for whatever reason, nothing concerned him at all. I don't know if I believe that, though. I think Saku... I think Taigi does have some interest. I feel like he's a very relaxed person, though. He's very go with the flow. But I think he does have some kind of ulterior motive. Like, he does have something that is pushing him forward. I just don't know what that is yet. And the reason I say that is because of what happened in Tamao's route with him killing Kurofune. Like, that was, like, totally out of left field. And we had, like, no explanation for that, really, that I can remember. So I feel like he's got to have something more to him. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't know, Saku, is he a bad guy? I know, he's the worst. Life at the dorm had changed when Narita and Taigi joined, but it was somewhat fun. And so, Saku couldn't help but pray that those days continued forever. Interesting. Like, this whole interaction between her and Eru has completely changed for me ever since we went through her route, and now I know. I'm like, oh. It feels a little less, genuine sometimes to me. With that, Saku Otonashi was left alone. Sitting in her suddenly silent room, she lost herself in thought. Soon, she and Narita would head towards the plant.
しやがって。
I know exactly what you're talking about. Remnants of the feeling on her lips overpowered even the taste of candy in her mouth. The fact that that sensation had stayed with her several hours later seemed strange. Her heart tightened in her chest and her stomach seemed to hurt. She didn't understand what had happened to her. She almost wiped her lips with a handkerchief but decided against it. I don't know. Someone's got some infatuation going on. Just a little bit. Heck yeah, incident commencing. I like this song. After lights out, we snuck out of the dorm. To avoid getting caught on camera, we left after gathering in my room.
誰にも気づかれなかったかね。
大丈夫よ。みんな寝てるわ。それでどうするの？
直接乗り込むつもりだ。これまではプラントへ近づかなかった。警備が相当に厳重だったのでね。何が待ち受けているのかわからない。危険もあるかもしれん。
今さらね、そんなの。当然できてるわ。
I wonder if Hishia prepared us a way in again with that key card. I wonder if that was part of the other preparations he was talking about last episode.
いいだろう。では。
Saku was no pro, but she'd gone through base training. From what I could tell, she had taken her tennis club very seriously. Her movements were a lot faster than I'd imagined. I led her into the garden, then the forest. There was a direct route between the research building and the plant, but the security there was even tighter, so we avoided it.
森は警戒が薄い。この中を突破するルートを使う。
I'm gonna be honest though, like, if we're still kind of doing the same thing in the true route, I would love to see them just go through the front gate. I would love to see Narita and Saku, you know, just going like full balls to the walls power. And then even Tamao too, like throw Tamao in there, throw Soriko in there because you know Soriko's got some crazy power going on too. And then Eru, of course. I mean, Eru I don't feel like is as directly strong, but against a single opponent, she is pretty crazy. I just want to see them go all in. It's gonna be so good. And then Taigi, I don't know what Taigi does, but I think Taigi's gonna end up helping us at some point. Oh, I'm so excited to see what's gonna happen. I know I keep saying that, but it's just so true. Saku sounded out of breath, but she still kept up with me. I'd held back for her sake, but that was impressive nonetheless. I know, I am glad that we're going with her, though, because obviously we're going to run into the stupid SSDs again. We always do, every single time. Once we reached deep enough to not even see outside the forest, I stopped.
どうかしたの？
方向感覚が狂った。
Yep, that's normal. Perhaps that was normal for others, but Narita had a sense of direction that rivaled migratory birds. The fact that I'd lost my sense of direction was proof of how unnatural the place was.
手薄なのには理由があると思ったが、なるほど。初手からこれでは先々オーガやドラゴンも現れかねないな。
Ah, yes, I'm sure there's plenty of those around here.
ここからが本番だ。よく見てついてきたまえ。遅れるようなら遠慮なく置いていく。
So I've kind of had this thought every time we go in here. Is the forest like really so unnatural that Narita would be thrown off if he's okay in other forest? Because he said this forest has been here like since before the academy was, so I don't think it was something they put there and made it intentionally weird. But my other thought is it the work of an HMI or something that's making it so confusing? Like, is it some kind of like thing that messes with your senses a little bit? Like, I've been just curious. I don't know, it just seems weird that they always mention how disorienting the forest is. Saku, who appeared obviously tense, gave me a nod.
望むところよ。
Oh, there they go. We're starting up again. It's not like we haven't seen this before. Suddenly, a metal, arrow-like object flew by. The aim was both precise and peerless. Based on the small size, it wasn't actually an arrow, but a crossbow bolt. Unlike bullets, bolts were near silent. With the veil of darkness hiding them, evading them was no small feat. In that environment, they were actually better than guns. When we stepped deeper into the forest, a relentless ambush awaited us. The opponent jumped from shadow to shadow like a nocturnal animal. We didn't know who was attacking us, merely sensing their presence was a challenge, and I failed to spot them no matter how hard I tried.
何なのよ一体。
木の陰から出るな。頭を下げていたまえ。
The sniper moved around with clearly inhuman ease, unrelenting and without hesitation. A single wrong move meant a hole in my heart.
きなり撃ってきた。
Yeah, why do you think they told you to stay away? As I expected, the ambush had shocked her. The thought that the Academy security would attack without warning had never crossed her mind. This wasn't like the hostility expressed by the accident from the prior night. It was clear murderous intent, an unshakable will to eliminate the enemy. I was actually somewhat impressed that Saku had retained her sanity.
容易ではない相手だ。このままでは手詰まりか。
Yeah, we don't want to see Saku without her sanity again. That was scary. Very scary.
私がやるわ。
Okay, freaking Saku's just gonna go for it. I want to see her freaking... Yeah, she's gonna use her halo. Let's freaking go. Saku tried to stand up, looking extremely determined. My eyes widened in response. She clearly planned to use her halo. Oh, so good. Now that we know what it is, she'll finally use it. Saku Otonashi's halo was King Lear III, a true miracle. His power was both respected and feared by each and every one of the 200 HMIs who studied within the Academy's walls.
これをグラフで見たのが君の力なら、あの敵には通じない。
Yeah, but her powers, it's not just one, apparently, which is crazy to me. I think that's so broken. The opponent was not only far faster and stronger than normal humans, but they also had combat experience. An amateur like Saku stood no chance, even if she powered up. Though she was the strongest HMI at the Academy, could the power of the insignia have truly been something so simple?
できるなら成田は下がっていて。
I would absolutely love if she just freaking destroyed the SSD. Like, if she just went in there and just, like, killed her so quickly. I would be mind blown. Saku pulled out a metal case from her pocket, and the time she wasted on that proved fatal. Saku had screamed and almost collapsed. I threw her body over my shoulder and jumped, but my movement still failed to keep up with the progression of the situation. The enemy suddenly appeared above me. A shadow between the trees threw a dangerous-looking knife. It drew an arc, cut into Saku, and then flew away. Hopefully that's not poison. In order to avoid a second attack, I embraced Saku and ran, using the trees as my shield. Even if my opponent had night vision goggles, we were in a dense forest, so they had trouble tracking us. Or so I thought. The shapeless enemy remained above us every single step of the way.
Saku!
よくわからない。脇が熱くて。
大丈夫。かすめただけだ。深くはない。だが、このまま一度引こう。
でもそれはせっかく。
私の見積もりが甘かった。頭上の敵を破ってプラントに近づくには装備が足りない。後日改めて出直す。
Yeah, but it's not gonna be that easy the next day, you know? It may have upped their defenses because of Shinzen Katsuragi's death. Whatever the case, we stood no chance of breaking through the dense forest without sufficient equipment and plans. More
この
importantly...
場を無事に逃げ延びられるかが目下の問題だ。
Well dang, this was so anticlimactic.
ごめんなさい成田。私が足引っ張って。
I think Saku was just not taking it seriously enough, because she just didn't know what to expect. She wasn't mentally prepared.
これでも私は不可能に近いほどその気になる勝負だね。
Oh, okay.
捕まっているように相当揺れることになる。
The light steps of the twisting trees above sounded rhythmical. The beat resounded with the speed of a beast and the legs of a human, dancing through the trees and approaching us. Even if we escaped, we were doomed if they discovered our identities. I had to shake the enemy off both quickly and covertly.
行く。
Feeling Saku's weight in my hands, I gathered my strength and kicked off the ground. I couldn't sense the enemy's presence. It seemed the forced ability to ruin an individual's sense of direction had worked against them on that specific occasion.
まだ意識はあるかね。
ええ。
A silent, brief, weak response, but a response nonetheless. Her right side was bloody. The wound didn't even look very deep, but that didn't matter if it was poisoned.
辛いだろうが、もうしばらく捕まっていたまえ。
Yeah, I think it was poisoned because she said it was burning. I mean, obviously, if you got sliced, it would burn too, but... I said that and then became one of the night shadows and silently escaped the forest. We returned to my room in the dorm to check and treat Saga's wound. I placed Saku on the bed and prepared a first aid
手当て
kit.
をする。服を脱がせよ
はい。
She let it happen without any show of resistance. That was most unexpected. I assumed that she didn't even have the energy to complain. I swiftly removed her clothes. Normally I would have been mesmerized by her porcelain skin and shapely chest, but treating the wound was more important. It was unexpectedly light, but I didn't spot any signs of poison. Saku's fortune gave me peace of mind.
傷口を縫う悪いが麻酔はない覚悟を決めたまえ
Dang, that's gonna hurt.
待って。
I thought she needed time to calm down, but instead she used her trembling fingers to point below the bed.
ポケット。ケース貸して。
I followed her order and looked through her clothes to find the very same metal case that caused the injury in the forest.
これかね
I moved it close enough to let her take it in her hand without getting up. She reached for it and opened it. It was a different case than the one she had the prior night, but the contents appeared to be the same basic candy. She wished to have one while she was injured. More importantly, why didn't she take it out during the battle? Saku reached for one, but then hesitated for a good while until finally.
やっぱりやめ。
Does that have something to do with her halo? Because now that I think about it, I think she's had her candy like a few times when she's like been fighting. During the choreography lesson, I'm pretty sure she had like a sucker or something. Wouldn't be surprised if that's like the trigger, you know? Because it feels like everyone has like something that they do that triggers their power.
成田、やって。
多少痛むぞ
いい。
Blood loss wasn't the only reason for her pale face. However, she stopped shaking. Of course she had. Saku Otonashi was the kind of woman who chose to bear pain and overcome
辛け
it.
ればこれを掴んでいるといい綺麗なので噛み締めても大丈夫だ
I gave her the round, green plush toy and began the treatment. Saku didn't yelp or scream once. A slightly waning moon silently moved through the sky I glimpsed outside the window. I couldn't tell how long we had left until dawn, but I hoped to rest until then. After the treatment, Saku went to sleep as though losing consciousness. She must have been exhausted. Her breathing destabilized, and I felt her move under the sheets. I whispered that while sitting on the floor next to her. Instead of responding, Saku opened her eyes and got up.
寝ていたまえ傷もまだ痛むはずだ
大丈夫。
I poured some water into the mug I was so fond of. It was strange to live in a country with infrastructure so good that you could drink tap water. Yeah, that would be nice. Can't do that here. I frickin' use one of those water purifiers and I put it in my fridge.
焦らずゆっくり飲むといい
ありがとう。落ち着いた。
I sat down on the bed and handed her the cup. She took it in both hands, just like before.
体はどうかね
もう全然平気。痛みもないし。
Her furrowed eyebrows informed me she was faking it, but I decided to respect her will and keep
出
quiet.
血は少なかったが3針縫った
わざわざ言わなくていいわ。かえって痛くなりそう。
相当疲労しているだろうそれを飲んだら朝まで休みたまえ私はあちらのソファーを使っているので何心配は無用だとも
She didn't respond, as I wondered why I felt a weight on my back. Saku's head had leaned into it.
ごめんなさい。私が失敗して。
あの警備を突破するには最初から準備が足りなかった君のせいではないよ
I don't know, I'm sure she had a reason to. She clung to my uniform with both hands. I felt her shiver. Had the fear from the battle returned?
ここは安全だ落ち着いて深呼吸したまえ
I mean, she could just be cold too. You kind of like had to take off her clothes to stitch her up. Saku Otonashi had faced death twice over the course of 2 days. She could bear the pain of the wounds, but the fear of being subjected to clear murderous intent proved to be an entirely different matter. A situation where it was either kill or be killed was obscenely rare in a peaceful country like Japan.
うしてあんな。
それだけプラントが重要な施設ということだろう。相当のものが隠されていると見て間違いない。
What did they have locked up in there? We would know once we reached it.
まだ先の話だ。今夜は忘れて眠るといい。次に備えて休息することも大事な仕事だ。
Saku clung to me like a little girl. She must have felt quite uneasy.
ごめん。体震えて。私だらしない。あんな偉そうに言ったのに。
I firmly grasped her shaking fingers. They seemed as frail as glasswork, or fragile as glasswork.
ここで引き返すのも一つの選択だ。
Honestly, though, if she stopped doing everything she's doing right now, would they stop? I don't know. I don't know if I think they would. Chimney Narita provided his entirely honest opinion. Moonlight fell through the window like drops of silver. The dim light on her side profile made my heart skip a beat. Saku looked beautiful. I said nothing and merely gazed at her visage. She was truly a sight to behold. Her eyes, full of the will to overcome fear and do what she thought was right, shone brighter than any gold. The fact that I tried to stymie her determination at that point surprised even myself. Why? I belatedly found the answer as I questioned myself. I didn't want her light to vanish. I wished to protect her from any harm so it wouldn't fade or disappear.
サク、君はよくやった。引き返しても誰も責めないだろう。当然、私も。
I knew her answer, yet I still asked.
嫌よ。
友情のためかね。それとも筆頭の責任感か。君は誰かを失う方が怖いと言ったが、この先はもっと過酷なものが待っているだろう。
Oh yeah, it's gonna get way worse.
君には君の生きるべき世界があるはずだ。失われたものを嘆くより、前を向いて進むのも一つの戦いではないかね。
I continued speaking, knowing full well it was futile. I tried to protect her like a flower in a greenhouse. After all, that was something that I had once had, a light that Shinra Narita had lost long ago. I had a nonsensical dream that by protecting Saku, I'd find a way to bring back those long-lost days back. It felt so pitiful that it made me want to burst into laughter. Saku's light was her core nature. I already knew exactly what to do to protect that shine.
ハローに目覚めるまで私普通の女の子だった。
I mean, I would assume so. That's probably the case of every HMI. They were probably just a normal person.
後天性の HMI だったと以前空子から聞いた。
Yep, and her parents fought with her about it.
私がスクールの前に通ってた学園でも同じような事件があった。
Her pale face trembled no longer. She took a deep breath and spoke clearly as if she collected herself.
それはミトリの件とかね。
友達が消えた。親友だった。家出だろうって言われてた。でもそんなのは信じられなかった。だって私に何も言わないでどこかへ行くはずがない。
She squinted and looked at empty space, searching her memory as she talked about the past event. She decided to reveal the story of her wound. Her solemn voice made it clear that it was something that had taken root deep inside her.
私は一人で彼女を探した。いろいろなことがあってようやく真相をつかんだ。彼女は殺されてた。 HMI の仕業だった。当時はスクールも今みたいじゃなくて警察だってまるで対応できていなかった。
So it would have got written off and then just forgotten about.
その HMI は噂に聞くスライダーだったのかね。
S-type brain function disorder, or Slider syndrome. It was an HMI exclusive mental illness caused by the Halo. HMIs who experienced it lost control of themselves, and Miss Tokino had explained that the Academy, or more specifically, the Crowns, dealt with them by request of the authorities.
違うわ。そいつは正常な HMI だった。ハローを悪用する HMI はスライダーに限らない。それは単に良心の問題よ。そいつは人知れず目覚めていて、通り魔みたいなやつで、狙いをつけた者を殺して、死体も何もかも消して、私は事件を追ってそいつにたどり着いたけど。
I knew what she wanted to say. Saku had almost died. Normal humans and HMIs weren't on the same level.
その時アセンションが起きた。
死の恐怖か怒りかがスイッチになったのだろう。そういうことは珍しくない。
The mind was defined by the flesh, while the flesh was influenced by the mind. They were both inseparable. That was why powerful mental shocks sometimes activated certain biological functions.
目覚めたばかりで私はうまく力を使えなかった。いえ、そうじゃなくて憎かったのかも。親友を殺した犯人をそれこそ殺してやりたかった。結局そいつは死ななかったけど、でも私が壊した。二度と正気に戻らなかった。
Dang, I think that's almost worse, honestly.
仇は取った。それなのに気分は最悪だった。吐きそうだったわ。
Oh, I'd misunderstood. Saku hadn't troubled because she faced murderous intent. She'd feared actually killing someone.
復讐とは虚しいものだよ。仇を打ち果たしても失われたものは何一つ戻ってこない。
You know, Narita, that's funny that you would say that of all people. You're the one who wants revenge the most here, okay? And you're telling her that? Like, that sounds so hypocritical. But I mean, I think he says that, but he does know that there is truth in that, and he knows kind of, I guess, what he's saying right here. Revenge was something humans sought despite knowing it was meaningless. That was fine by me. The reality that Kurofune Mikado still drew breath felt unbearable, but I couldn't forgive myself for letting him live. For such a simple reason, I planned to trample on everything else.
その後、犯人が再起不能になったのが変な噂になって、おかげで私、行き場がなくなっちゃって。
そしてこの学園へ来た。
この力は忌まわしかった。ここでそんな力にも意味があるかもしれないと思えるようになった。いえ、意味がなくても見出せるんじゃないかと信じられた。それはきっと私だけじゃない。たくさんの HMI にとっても同じ。この学園が発見し損ねた何も知らない HMI がどうなるか知っている？
Probably get treated like criminals or killed or something.
だが簡単だ。おごるか、蔑むか。
They were special, so they either believed that they were better than others, or they were scorned for their irregularity. Those were two sides of the same coin. It's even simpler with hereditary HMIs. They were abnormal from the very moment they drew their first breath. They took their ability for granted and grew up not knowing they were abnormal until they compared themselves to others. HMIs had true preternatural powers, which made the middle ground impossible. Staying human while having and hiding their power seemed nearly impossible.
悲しき弱さだよ。
それを弱さだと言えるあなたは強いのよ。世の中の大多数は弱いわ。私を含めて。でも、世の中は冷たくて、強くなるのを待ってはくれない。
I don't know, society's had to wait 7 years for us.
だから必要なのよ。誰かが声を上げて、こっちへ来なさいと手を叩いてやらなくてはいけない。強くなるために必要な知恵と手段を教えてやらなければ。
I mean, sure, someone can teach you to become, to have wisdom and become strong, but you have to be willing to listen in the first place.
ここは私に大事なことを教えてくれた。たくさんの大切なものを与えてくれた。胸を張って生きることを思い出させてくれた。
I don't know. I wouldn't. Oh, I'm sorry. She was still finishing up. I wouldn't say that you should learn to take pride in what you do in life. I think you should learn to be confident in what you do in life. Like, I think there's a difference between being prideful and saying, oh, yeah, I have such awesome abilities, or I'm so talented at this thing. And just having confidence, saying, I know I can do this if I put enough effort into it. Because I feel like one is very, as it implies, prideful, right? It's very, like, selfish, I guess. And then one's just having confidence. Like, you can still be humble and be confident, you know?
悲痛を耐え前を向くことこそ真の戦いだ。過去から痛みから目をそらせないのは弱いからだよ。人を作るのは過去だが、人が生きるのは未来なのだから。
To forget the past and live in the future. The logic seemed hard for many to accept, but it was true nonetheless. Yeah, it is very hard to forget the past, because ultimately the past is what makes you into who you are now. I mean, obviously you can decide right now to change, but you really can't change the past. You can only affect what's happening right now, but ultimately that will affect the future. And it's very hard for people to forget the past. Like, things that have happened before still hurt sometimes. But yeah, it is true. I mean,
できればいいでしょうね。そうやって昨日と同じ明日を憂いなく過ごせれば、それが一番幸せだわ。
really? I don't think I would be. Would you be happy if you did the same thing every single day and, like, nothing changed? Because if we think about it this way, if you didn't have anything in your life that was negative or bad, or that you didn't like doing, then you wouldn't have anything you liked doing, or that gave you joy or happiness, right? Because you need something to contrast it to. There has to be a little bit of opposition in all things, right? I know what sweet things taste like because I know what bitter things taste like, right? I have to have something to say, oh, like, there's the, what is it called? But I know I like, we have the words like and dislike, right? Like, there's a reason for that. There has to be things you dislike in order to like something. Because if you disliked everything, you wouldn't, I don't know, it would just lose all meaning, right? I don't know if I'm explaining that too well.
幸福の正体は無知だ。
But there's a reason we have things we like and dislike. Let's just say that. It helps you like things more when you have things you dislike. If you looked away from all the contradictions and closed your eyes to your misfortune, the world would instantly become a paradise. Bliss was like a cherry blossom tree that only bloomed above someone else's remains. And due to the fact that our insolence, which allowed us to forget that fact, granted us happiness, from the very beginning the world was an unjust, cruel place.
無知にも覚悟がいるがね。いつか訪れるかもしれない破滅をいいダクダクと神の意志と受け止める覚悟がいる。
I don't know. I'm not sure if I entirely agree with this. Like, I think just because you've had something in the past that hurts you and then you've moved on, that doesn't make you ignorant of it. That just means you've accepted it. It means you've said, hey, this happened. I couldn't control it. I don't like it, but I'm moving on beyond it. I'm healing, right? I feel like if you just live your whole life just being ignorant of things, then yeah, that would be ignorance is bliss, right? you would be saying, oh yeah, there's all these horrible things, but I'm just gonna pretend they don't exist, and that's gonna make me feel happy. Or you could look at it the way of, I'm gonna face these things I don't like in my past head on. I'm gonna acknowledge them and say that they did happen and I didn't like them, but at the time maybe I couldn't control it, or maybe I just made the wrong decisions, and now I know that I made the wrong decisions in that choice. And I can use that information to help me feel better now. Now I know to avoid maybe something like that, or whatever thing in your past that's bothering you. You have that knowledge, you have those skills, those memories of that thing, and you can use that to help strengthen you going forward. And that's hard to do. Like, that's not like, it's so much easier for me to just say that than it actually is. But for me, in my experience, I've had plenty of times where I had hard things in life, and now I look back on it and say, wow, that made me a better person. I've gone past that, and that would never happen again to me, and that's a good feeling. It's a great feeling to know that you've improved as a person. And it's kind of like when you think about those cringy memories in your past. Everyone always says, "Oh yeah, well if you're cringing at it, it's because you've grown up, you've gone past that, right?" I think that's true if your old memories that were negative experiences. You can look back at that and feel better that you're probably not going to make those same mistakes that led to that again.
だが無知は往々にして自分の不幸を誰かのせいにしてしまうバカバカしいことに。それでも何者にも幸せになる権利はある。
Everyone has the right to seek their own happiness, right? But I've found in my life that the greatest happiness I find is when I'm looking to find happiness for others. I know that makes like zero sense, right? Like, why would you be happy seeing someone else happy? But it's true. Like, if you've ever like gone out of your way to help people and then saw how happy they are because you've done something out of your way for them, like that brings you real happiness. I think you can focus on yourself. Like, if you like playing video games, you can play all the video games all day, but that's not going to make you happy. Like, that's going to make you, feel this reoccurring sense of gratification, right? But that's not going to make you feel joy in life. You're probably not going to feel joy just playing games all day, unless you're going out of your way to do something for somebody else. Like, that's where you feel happy. That's more of a lasting thing for me, and I'm not sure if that's how everyone feels, but at least that's how I think it works.
たとえ偽りの楽園でも受け取ったなら胸を張って謳歌しないでどうする。うつむきためらったところでそれこそ失われたものを無意に費やすことになるだけだ。
ここで引き返したらニトリを忘れて前に進んでしまったらいつか私はそんな私を許せなくなる。
Yeah, Saku's the kind of person who dwells on things. I think she would definitely regret it if she didn't like pursue what happened to Midori and like gotten those answers, or at least said, "Hey, I attempted to find out the truth. Whether you actually succeed or not doesn't matter. Like, you went out of your way to try to figure out the truth." It goes back to what I was saying. You find joy in doing something for others. Even if she's already passed away, you can say, "Hey, I looked into it. I tried to do something for somebody else." And it makes less of the focus on yourself, and in return you actually end up happier, which is crazy to me. She spoke those words yet again, as though they were a promise to her death. To her, death appeared preferable to a life at the expense of her principles.
引かないと。
君はこの学園を本当に愛しているのだね、おとなし作。
I gave her a kiss as light as a feather. It came naturally. I didn't even think about it beforehand. She seemed confused but didn't resist.
君に敬意を表する。
こういう時は愛してるとか言うんじゃないの？
Only if you want it to be. She bashfully looked down and her whole body flushed a deep red.
許されないこともあるのだよ。
誰が許さないの？
自分が。私を成中する者が私以外にいるのかね。
I planned to enact my revenge no matter the cost. I'd only survived due to that single goal in my mind. The path Shinu Narita walked led an entirely different destination than Saku Otonashi's. I refused to forget the fact that I was her worst enemy, a person who wished to destroy the academy.
これ以上はきっと悔いになってしまうだろう。私にも君にも。
じゃあどうしてキスなんてしたの？
そうしたいと思った。
Saku kissed me. She hesitantly, fearfully brought her lips close, then pushed them against mine with an unexpected boldness. Her kiss was far deeper than mine. It filled my heart with a heat akin to warm charcoal. In that moment, I felt something I had supposedly abandoned. It was a fragment of a human heart, a foolish sentiment unnecessary to an avenger. And yet... Saku backed away. Her face had reddened considerably as she cast her eyes down.
私変態で頭おかしいやつなのに、こんなやつなのに、成田のどこがいいのか自分でもよくわからないけど。
Alright, I'd like to make a comparison. I apologize that I keep interrupting the video, but I just have so much thoughts about what they're saying. It's very intriguing to me. I think people like Narita for the same reason people like Holo from Spice and Wolf. I think Holo is a very intelligent character. She's very witty. She always seems like she has the upper hand on you, but at the same time makes you feel very welcomed and feel very loved. And I think Narita can do the same. I feel like at one point, he makes you kind of off guard a little bit. He's very good at, like, you know, talking about perverted stuff and then, like, wrapping it back around into something, like, very profound and deep. And in that sense, he's someone that you can laugh with and have fun, but also have these deep conversations with. And I feel like for most people, who wouldn't want to fall in love with somebody like that? Like, that's for someone that you would feel very comfortable around and be very trusting of. And I feel like Narita does such a good job at this in his conversations and in the way he talks to people. He's a very charismatic guy, absolutely. Even though he comes off a lot of the times as someone who's very, you know, rough around the edges or very hard to read. I feel like he just has this very, like, trusting, comforting presence. And I feel like that's why all these girls are falling in love with him, right? Now, Saku probably doesn't understand why she feels that way, but I have a good idea why.
成田のことが多分好きだと思う。
Her awkward confession that didn't quite fit the atmosphere resounded in me.
思うなのかね。
あ、その好き。
He did the thing again. He got her to reconfirm her feelings, and so instead of, I think I like you, now she's saying, I do like you. He challenged her. He made her rethink about it and make sure that she knew what she was saying. Just such a good character and such good writing. I mean, that's why I really like Narita. Like, even though he has these moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, what you're saying is so stupid. But he also has these moments where I'm like, wow, that was so, like, interesting to read. She conjured those words from the depths of her heart while drawing circles on the sheets with her finger.
クラウンの筆頭がこんなにうぶな乙女だったとは知らなかった。
仕方ないでしょ。私、前の学園はちゃんと卒業する前にスクールに来たし、恋愛とかそういうの全然。
I can believe that. That seemed rather reasonable, but it wasn't what I had expected, based on my first impression. The girl who always acted lively, jaunty, and didn't hesitate to interact with people stuttered as she professed her feelings to me. Well, I feel like in that way she's always been this person who's kind of, like, been looked up to, and so if you're considered the strongest HMI, Like, who really can compete with you, right? Like, who are you going to consider an equal in a relationship? You're not going to consider very many people an equal. Whether you're a humble person or not, you're going to say, hey, I'm kind of above, and that's going to be intimidating for a lot of people, especially like a love interest. Like, you need someone like Narita who knows his worth, right? Like I said, going back to, you can either be prideful or you can be confident. Like, the confidence doesn't always make you prideful. I think you can be confident and prideful, but you can be humble and confident too. And I feel like for the most part, Narita's like that. Maybe towards when he's talking to Eru, when he calls himself Narita the Great. I mean, that's a little bit more prideful, but I feel like he does that pretty jokingly. The girl with numerous responsibilities on her shoulders, who had suffered immensely, actually seemed quite inexperienced when it came to things common to girls her age.
愛は世界中どこででも誰もが探している。惨劇の中でも戦場でも人は愛を求める。人よの夢のような愛、熱病のように焼けつく愛、炭火のような時間をかけて育む愛、さまざまな愛を。
Well, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would agree here, but I feel like arguably love is the most important thing in the world. I mean, what else are you here for? What else really matters besides love? I mean, you can have a job, but it's like, okay, well, when you go home, it's like, okay, whatever. But like, love is something you carry with you everywhere. There were also those who dedicated love to things inhuman. Was love in such high demand because there was salvation in it? Perhaps. There was also love that drove people insane, for it was the twin brother of its sworn enemy, hatred.
そんなこと言われても、私、友達って言えるのは空子たちだけだったし。
Kind of interesting that she says Soriko over Eru. That seemed reasonable, but I couldn't imagine them talking about love all that often.
ふむじゃなくて、その返事告白したんだから、ちゃんと返事して。
ああ。
My answer was so obvious I didn't even feel the need to say. Yeah, it is pretty obvious, I think, by this point.
愛しているよ、サク。
I spoke without any pretense.
本当に？
愛しているよ。何度でも言おう。君を、君のあり方を、すべてを、他の誰よりも大事に思う。
I think this is one of my favorite confessions. Like, it's... I don't know, all the other ones were really good, right? Like, they're not bad, I'm not trying to downplay them at all. But, like, this one just feels right. Like, I feel like Saku is intended to be kind of the canon route, right? She's supposed to be the girl that he's meant to be with. But it's like, putting that aside, it just feels so right. Hearing them, like, confess to each other, it's just so good.
なんだか変な気分。こういうの初めてだけど、ふわって足元をおぼつかなくて、どうしていいのかわからない感じ。本とかで読んだりするけど、本当にこういう気分あったんだ。
だから余計に悔いになってしまいそうだ。
Every time, man, he's got to say this. He's got to say, hey, eventually I'm going to go on a different path than you, and we're probably going to butt heads. The heavy echo of my whisper made her lose herself in thought.
二人で後悔しちゃダメなの？
悔いると分かりきっているのに
So good.
やらない方がよくはないかね。
It depends.
じゃあ後悔しないようにしたら。
意外に無理を言うのだね。
I made a troubled face and she smiled like a songbird.
前に人が生きていくには喜びが必要だって言ってたわよね。私が今得てるのはきっと喜びよね。今ならなんとなくわかる。こんな気持ちに出会えるなら生きていく意味があるなって思えるから。成田は嘘は言ってないと思う。そうね。きっといつか私は後悔する。
So bad they want to say that stupid Dr. Seuss quote, like "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." Like that's kind of how I'm feeling about the situation. Like, yeah, it might end up not going so well, but like just be happy that you got to have those memories, have those good times.
私、後悔なら数えきれないくらいしてきたのよ。うんうん。普段から後悔してばかりかも。
Yeah.
自分を曲げて後悔するのは嫌だから後先考えずに飛び出すけど、後になってもっといい方法はなかったのかっていつも考える。でもそれでもね、何もしないで後悔するよりは踏み出した後で悔やむ方が私は好きよ。今までずっとそうしてきた。この胸の痛みも私の一部だって思える。私、あなたみたいに何でもありの天才キャラじゃないから、思いついて突き進んで後悔して反省して、そうやって前に進むしかないんだ。どんくさいけど。
悔いはあっても己の生き方を恥じないのだね。後悔のすべてが君を支えている。
成田はいろいろ考えてる。先のこととか、ずっと先のこととか。すごいと思うし、必要なことだってわかる。
Narita's definitely a person who thinks about things pretty hard. Like, and he does it in a positive way. I tend to be a person who overthinks things in a negative way. I always think like I'm doing something wrong, but I feel like Narita thinks about things and uses that to make sure that he's doing what he feels like is right all the time, and he's holding true to his convictions.
でも私は今感じてる自分の気持ちをなかったことにはしたくない。
Yeah. I mean, I say this all the time when I'm like playing a Yuri novel and like the two characters are like just not wanting to admit to each other that they like, each other. They're like so afraid that the other person doesn't feel the same way. I don't want to live my life with regrets like that. It's like, if you like someone, make sure they know. I mean, it might go bad. They might like not reciprocate, but at least you tried. At least you threw it out there and said, hey, I don't have this regret that I never said anything. I'd rather regret having said something than not saying something. We no longer had any need for words. Both of us leaned in for our fourth kiss. Oh, they're counting, huh? Apparently I had 2 scenes added. Interesting. I'd fallen asleep. In fact, I still hadn't fully awakened. My will remained separate from my body. How many years had it been since I'd slept so defenselessly? The path of vengeance was one fraught with chaos, so contained no semblance of peace. I'd crossed the abyss of death many times, and my solemn oath supported me on the wasted pilgrimage towards my enemy. I decided long ago that I wouldn't die without first dispersing the grudge of the betrayed.
成田、
The faint whisper granted me peace, the kind I'd felt while basking in the warm sunlight years ago. My faded consciousness didn't remember the name of the speaker, but they were right next to my ear.
2065事件。
It's in a 206. Oh, frick, we're going back into this! Oh. It said that it was profound sadness in its tone.
自分でもよくわからない。もしも私が その時は。
Dang, we're already jumping back into that crap, huh? Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Things are gonna get interesting. The world was a cruel, unjust place. Every tragedy was eventually forgotten, and harsh reality claimed the lives of all those who could speak of them. It was an area long forgotten by the ages. They lived while worshipping, obeying, and protecting their bloodline. They foolishly yet earnestly fulfilled the roles they'd given themselves long ago, continuing their traditions for generations. A place bound by various customs was especially hard on children, so we tended to converse with our friends and escape to the mountains whenever we had the chance. We dreamed of the day we finally left, even though we had never once expected it to arrive. Is this Narita as a kid?
お兄様、どこへ行かれるのですか?
Dang, we're actually like hearing her talk more. It's very rare. Though still young, my little sister was a clever girl. She was as pretty as a pearl, and you could tell she would grow to be a beautiful lady.
来るなって言ったろ。
お兄様たちばかりお屋敷から出て遊ぶのはずるいわ。
She was a true treasure among the Mikado clan. However, she was a sickly girl who wasn't allowed to leave the mansion. That might have been why she always tried to follow me whenever I went out with a friend.
待って、走るの早いよ。
A girl our age had chased us around. She had been placed under the care of the Mikado clan.
私も連れて行ってください。
My sister had always been a stubborn little thing, and even when she wasn't, I wanted to fulfill her wishes, but that particular case had appeared different. If they'd caught us, it would have caused a great disturbance. Kaizo was understanding enough to let it slide, but if it was someone like my father, we risked getting scolded hard.
ダメに決まっているだろ。お前は体が弱いから外に出てはいけないといつもあれほど。
I'd created a pretense like the brother I was, and as usual,
ほんの少しだけだよ。すぐに戻らないと本家様に叱られてしまうから。
お前はルリに甘すぎる。
普段は君の方がよほど甘いだろ。こんな時だけ兄さんぶらなくてもいいのに。
my friend had always said more than necessary.
二人とも仲いいんだね。
We used to. The other girl had said that with a smile. Two weeks had passed in the blink of an eye.
予想通りというか、予想以上ですね、ご主人様。帝黒船、つくづく油断のならないやつ。ラスボスはラスボスらしく、応用に構えて油断しやがればいいのに。
I don't know, probably because we're playing Dark Souls. You know, gotta try it a few times, learn the boss's patterns, and then, you know, eventually we'll be able to defeat him. But, you know, I haven't mentioned it yet. Glad to see Hishia again.
手強い獲物ほど狩る価値があるというものだよ。
I snuck out of the academy and rendezvoused with Hishia. Following Shinzen Katsuраgi's death, the academy went on high alert. Most students wouldn't have noticed, but there was clearly more security personnel and the like.
夜店と昨日先に狙うべきだったかもしれません。
We could have, but last time we did that, someone went crazy, so, you know, we gotta change it up a bit.
今更だ。食い入るよりは次の手を考えよう。
That is true. Let's do that. Though it was rather evident that my mission had become harder, acquiring Kurofune and Tokino's schedules had gotten harder, and the maids accompanying them at all times. The maids were clearly powerful fighters.
次の手と言いますが、何か心当たりはございますか？いえいえ、ご主人様が当てずっぽうで申しておられるとは、騎士やちっとも思いませんけれど。
今週末に夜会がある。今回は黒船の誕生パーティーを兼ねたものだ。
Oh, we're having his birthday party again.
まあびっくりで、マジ考えてた。
Wow. Hey! We always think things through. What do you mean, Hishia?
当然だと思う。
I never merely wasted time.
対外的にも夜会を取りやめるわけにはいかないでしょうし、警備が集中しますね。
Hishia had the right idea. Kurofune had many enemies, so he couldn't afford to lose face, since that revealed potential openings. The ball would happen, we'd successfully secured a few of their plans for the week. Let's just hope we don't have to beat up Saku like we did to Mao. However, that was also our last chance. Shinya Narita's identity remained hidden after the failed attempt to enter the plant, but it was only a matter of time. Every minute counted, and if I failed again, I had no hope of another chance. Kurofune's death alone didn't signal the end of my revenge tragedy. I also had to destroy his dreams. In order to do that, I had to uncover the Academy's dark secrets. If possible, I wished to face Kurofune after having eliminated Tokino Yomase before the ball. All signs pointed to that happening. There were some factors that were obstacles, but I had ways to deal with them. We discussed the plan, focused on the necessary points, and formed a schedule.
では私は学園に戻る。
今夜は随分とお急ぎですね。
Trying to get back to his girlfriend.
期日までは私の正体を隠し通さねばならないのだから、あまり長く不在にしない方がいい。
なるほど。ごもっともです。イシアは最近ご主人様が毎晩ラブラブエロエロしておられるバインバインな方に見つかるととても面倒だからかと思っておりました。
Uh-oh.
とんだメガネ違いです。
You know, you tried to pull a fast one, Hishia. You know, you can't do that. She's too smart for that. She knows what you've been doing. She's not even there, and she knows what you've been doing, my guy. Oh, dang, got called out. My dearest maid nodded with a satisfied expression and casually uttered that terrifying statement.
サクのことを教えた記憶はないのだが、それは私の思い違いだろうか。
You know, Hishia knows a lot, my guy. She's pretty good at getting information.
ご主人様の記憶は正しいのでは。多分。そうそう、おとなし様でした。ものすごくご主人様好みのレディー。主に身体的特徴の一部分が。
Oh yeah. You know, Hishia knows this man well.
何を言う。好みではないよ。
そう。
I proudly proclaimed that fact as she appeared surprised. How rude.
あれは神の父と呼ぶのだ。私は思考と出会った。
With great enthusiasm, I spoke to her about the true gravity of the venerable discovery, but she completely ignored me.
邪魔ですので、ご主人様はとっととお帰って、年頃でも縁側でもなさっていてください。
そうしよ
う。少しも悪びれない。
You're the
ご主
worst.
人様は最悪でございます。
Oh my gosh, this is why you're best girl.
その前に成田様、ご注文の品、2065事件についてのレポート、パート3です。
君は完璧なメイドだな。
I took the mobile device with the data and gave it a quick glance. I was confident in my ability to read fast and memorize. It had once helped me outwit a secret local organization at an old castle in Romania. They never imagined I had the ability to memorize entire classified documents over the span of a single flash of lightning that lit up the room.
サクは私が眠っていると思っていたようだが。
Incident 206. Saku had whispered the name, which piqued my curiosity. The part 3 Hishia had handed me was actually the final one on the matter.
ほほう。どういう状況で寝物語をされたのか、医師は個人的興味から問い詰めたいところです。
I'm a man with ways. Incident 206 was a bizarre murder that had occurred in Okushima several years ago. The culprit still hadn't been caught.
この報告書の内容が正しいとすると、2065事件は HMI による犯行の可能性が高い。
県警の資料ではあくまでも異常者の犯罪だと。
So wait, wasn't Saku HMI? Wasn't she the Incident 206 killer? Are they implying that we're gonna have what happened in the last route happen again? I really hope not. I really, really hope not. That was scary.
スクールもまだ気づいていないということか。
なるほど。確実な証拠がないと報告にあげない。ジャパニーズ縦割り行政の弊害というやつでしょうか。それと、例の
音無様がギロチン処刑されかかった場所で見つかった毛髪から分かったことも入っておりますのでご確認ください。
Indeed, I noticed a separate set of information that included blood type and the
これ
like.
の持ち主はやはりスクールの学生の誰かだと思うかね。
医師的には 99.9% ぐらいはそうではないかと。スクールの管理している DNA データが手に入れば個人を特定できると思いますけれど。
この件はここまでで十分だ。相手の意図が本当に警告だったとすれば、遅かれ早かれまた姿を現すだろう。
警告でなかったら
むしろ喜ぼう。面倒が一つ減る。
ご主人様の超大雑把具合に医師やふーはーはーはーでございます。
I just have to laugh at the way she laughs. I continued reading the report. The fruits of Hishia's investigations seemed immense.
この死亡者リストは何だね。
2065事件と直接関係はありませんが、事件以降奥島周辺で若者の急死する事件がいくつもあります。
She didn't have solid reasoning for giving me the list, which felt odd. Hishia usually only operated on cold hard facts. That meant that it was her gut instinct, which I was inclined to trust.
現状では重要なピースが足りていないようだ。
That was my own gut instinct. Something did feel off, but the data didn't help me pinpoint anything. It would have been better if I found something to tie all these deaths together.
ピースと言われますと、
例えば死んだ全員が HMI であるとか。
Among the dead, there were individuals who had undergone ascension at some point before dying. That didn't apply to all of them, but considering the rarity of HMIs, the amount of them on the list seemed suspicious. The likelihood of there not being one, but several HMIs without a solid reason, was minimal.
気にかかる点は多いが、今は目的に集中しなければなるまい。相手は黒船だ。隙を作れば容赦なく疲れる。
Oh yeah, there's gonna be some things going on here.
今週が勝負どころなのですね、成田様。
My 7-year play finally approached its end. When I returned to the dorm, I felt someone's presence in front of my room. Saku sat out there, waiting for me. It's already past lights out. How unlike the insignia to break the rules.
どこへ行ってたの？部屋にいないから心配したのに。
Hey, you weren't supposed to know that. She folded her arms and asked me that question, looking quite upset.
野暮用があってね。次女のヒシアと会ってきた。詳しくは内緒ということにしておこ
内緒。
う。いやらしいことを考えたのだね、サク。
I had a feeling this was going to be mentioned.
誰もそんなこと考えてない。
Saku's intense, honest reactions made her a prime target for teasing. That is true.
変なごまかしはなしよ。まあ、あなたが何か企んでるのは分かってたことだから、今更だけど。
Of course, I'm always planning something.
君には君の、私には私のなすべきことがある。共闘はしないが、行けるところまでは並んで進むとしよう。念のために確認しておくが、これまでの結果を彼女たちに知らせなくていいのかね。
Over the prior 2 weeks, I'd been preparing for the next act. However, at the same time, I'd helped Saku investigate the truth behind Mitori's death. Though we hadn't learned much, and Saku hadn't been attacked once since the warning either. She seemed quite fond of the green plush toy. She held it in her hands every time she visited my room. Gosh, every girl holds that every time they come in our room. At that moment, she kneeled on the bed with the toy on her knees. She usually acted quite fussy about etiquette, but I recently learned that when relaxing, she didn't seem to care much. I'd seen her sit with her legs crossed many times. I mean, so? What does that matter? Her posture stayed strangely good even then, however, which seemed fitting.
みんなに教えるつもりはないわ。
By them, she obviously meant the crowns.
巻き込みたくないのよ。こんなことに。学園の闇。深すぎる闇。この先にはき きっとさらにろくでもないものがある。
Okay, now I'm not asking to be spoiled, but I'm really hoping that in the true end, everybody gets involved. Like, I'm tired of this, oh, I'm just gonna, be involved, and then Tamao ends up, like, showing up because, Tamao's doing her own thing anyways. But, like, the formula's been kind of the same, I feel like, for each route. As far as, like, how that goes, it's, like, always we team up with one of the people, and then, usually somebody else gets involved somehow. But it's like, no. I want everybody to be involved. I want this to be a group thing, and we all find out and, like, do something about it together. I feel like that would be awesome.
だからこそ真実を教えてやるべきではないのかね。彼女たちにとっても深く関わるものなのだから。
真実って何かな。
Saku embraced the toy tight. She looked outside at the academy veiled in darkness with hesitant eyes.
それは哲学的な見地でかね。
うまく言えないんだけど、ニトリのことや他のいろいろな暗いものが学園の真実だとして、それが真実なら他のは全部嘘なの。
I don't think the fun you've had here at the academy is a lie, if that's what you're implying.
情報は幾層にも重ねられていく。サク、君は学生であり、女性であり、エトワールだ。
そのどれか一つだと嘘になる？それは並列しえないもの？一つの嘘が混じってると、それ以外のものは消えてしまうって、成田はそう思う？
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say if there's one lie that makes the other things not true. I think you can have a mixture of truth and lies, and that in some ways can make something more convincing.
それらはすべて別の真実だというわけか。ダイスのそれぞれの面には別の数字が書かれているように。
ここには嘘があったでしょ。だからって私たちが見てきた、過ごしてきた時間を支えていたものは嘘じゃなかった。
I feel like in the example they're talking about, you could use the picture of the two guys who are like opposite ends, and one sees a 6 and one sees a 9. Like, they're both true, but you could say it's a lie as well.
例えば明日この学園が滅んでしまうのだとしても、私たちは続いている。ここで得た安らぎや時間や友人を持って、もっと先へ、違うところへ行って、また次を始める。
You know, Saku, I'm glad to hear you say that, because this academy might not be around.
一
We'll
つの
see.
嘘に他のすべてを消してしまう力なんてないわ。
No, it doesn't. I myself had told her something similar once. Even so, only a single truth mattered in Shinrin Narita's mind. They were traitors. That fact overpowered all others.
サク、君は嘘を許せるか？
私はただ、物事は0か1かなんて単純じゃないって言いたいだけよ。
A good way to look at things. There's more to life than just saying, okay, right and wrong. You know, there's reasons behind things.
重なり合った無数の情報層。私たちがいるのはその中間。全部を見通せる人なんてどこにもいない。
Reality was a layer in and of itself, but it couldn't be false merely because it was the result of many joint layers. And if all that was true, nothing could detract from the truth's value.
君は正しい。私が追うのは私にとっての真実だ。それは別の角度から見れば別の情報になる。別の正しさを有している。
だからあなたは自分のなすべきことをやめない？
Saku Otonashi was a wise individual. She inhabited a far more proper position than Shinrin Narita. That truth alone satisfied me greatly.
全知は主の見業だ。人の身に 全ての正しさを同時に満たすことはできない。コインの表と裏、両方が存在しても目に入るのは片方だけだ。
それが誰かにとっての真実でも、自分で納得できないなら、私はきっとそれを止めると思う。
Saku had been waiting for those words. She had a good enough intuition to vaguely understand Shinri Narita's goals.
何者であろうと幸せになる権利がある。万人から慕われる聖者も、多くの罪を犯した抱きすべき悪人にも等しく生きる権利は許されている。そして生きるとは幸を得ることだ。ならば誰であろうと己の正しさと真実を生きてもいいということだ。それが幸せということだと私は思う。たとこの世界はその程度には優しいのだよ。
The humans who inhabited the planet were the petty ones. We were creatures who forgave our own sins, yet couldn't do the same for others.
おとなしさく、君の望むままにしたまえ。
I was half expecting him to say Shinzo wo Sasageo. I urged her forward, hoping that she would do that one day. I wanted Saku Otonashi to walk the path she believed in, free of any restraint. Vengeance was a mental illness, an excessively human emotional dead end. No bright future awaited those who sought it. Perhaps once it all ended, Saku's just hand would judge me, which seemed like a fitting end to a man fueled by hatred.
運命を選び取るのは意志の力だ。人は自分の人生を豊かにして構わないのだよ。
ダメよ。誰か来るかも。
I embraced her as though it was natural.
っていうか、いきなり胸に顔を埋めるか普通。
The kind of person Shinri Narita is.
そういうものなのだよ。
どうしてこいつはこんなにおっぱい好きかな。
Hey, just let the man be happy. I mean, I would like it if he was a little less sexual harassing about it, but... It was a first for me. I'd shot someone and took their life. After being saved by a nameless man, I'd wandered the world for a long time. I had my life, but I was otherwise hollow. The path was long, the promise of revenge had supported me. My weak self, but I'd been there on the verge of death many times. I'm gonna be honest, every time I see this picture of him, I always think of Lelouch. Looks like him when he was younger. Anger gathered in my fists and hatred filled my legs as my young body absorbed more and more. The time came, the moment everyone experienced at least once had arrived. I had confidence in my strength, but little did I know that I would be quickly defeated. There were countless aspects of me I had abandoned to get that far. The strong, the weak, the traitor, the usurper, the dominator, and the dependent. Still, I wished to save a certain girl due to a sense of justice I still had in my heart. Looking back on it, it was the mistake of an absurdly earnest greenhorn. In that area, there were only two outcomes for those born in destitution. You either died, or became a tool. The girl had chosen the latter. I'd failed to understand what had happened. And in the end, there was no justice in the world. When I realized that simple fact, I learned of the world's true nature. The man selling the girl was on the ground. That was the first and last time I'd shot someone for my own sake before returning to Japan. My hands had trembled, which was probably natural considering I'd never shot someone before. The weight of life changed depending on where you live, or where you were. There it was light. I clung to the young girl's chest, and only then did I stop shaking.
もう赤ちゃんみたい。
She complained but gently caressed my head
知
nonetheless.
っているかね、サク。豊かな胸とは神秘だ。私は豊満にある真の美を信仰している。
I mean, to be fair, there are reasons why men like big breasts. It's like a sign of good fertility. Whether that's actually true or not, I don't know. But there is scientific reasons why we like them.
そんな恥ずかしいこと大真面目に宣言しないでよ。もしもエルたちに聞かれたら 私明日からどんな顔したらいいのかわからないでしょ。
Honestly, is that even my problem?
隠し続ける仰せかね。姫事というくらいだ。隠すくらいでちょうどいい。別に私は明日のディナーの時にでも人々に広く告知しても構わないが。
She launched a deadly uppercut, so I evaded it, albeit barely.
私の気のせいかもしれないが、今のを避け損ねたら顎が反壊していたのではないかね。
Dang, she was gonna make sure you couldn't say nothing.
気のせいよ。
You are.
ああ、もう私どうしてこんな男に惚れちゃったんだろう。何かの間違いだったらよかったのに。
愛とは気まぐれで自分にも抑えきれないものなのだ。
こいつに言われるとそれはそれでムカつく。
困ったものだね。
How troubling. It's such good chemistry, though. I love it. I kissed her lips.
本当に困ったものだけど仕方ないじゃない。成田のこと好きになっちゃったんだから。
Another kiss. It started simple, but then grew more deep. Our lips and tongues mingled as though melting. Whoa, kind of spicy.
不安なことはないかね。
この先どうなるのか不安よ。
そうではないよ。
I hesitated for a second, but then decided to voice my thoughts.
その他にも悩み事があるのではと思っただけだ。
どうしてわかるの？
She asked, clearly amazed, but honestly, like I said, it was just a feeling.
サクは美しかったよ。初めて出会った時から。あり方の何もかもが。だからずっと見ていた。
そんなこと言って。
Saku tried to argue, but became all smiles. Then she forced her head into my chest before continuing.
おかしな話していい？
You know, I say weird things all the time, so go ahead.
もちろん構わない。
Her dainty fingers clung to the edge of my clothing. The girl who had always put up a brave front suddenly seemed dependent on my warmth.
夢見るんだ。怖い夢。本当に怖くて。内容もちゃんと覚えてないし、でもまるで本物みたいにリアルで、たまに夜中に飛び起きたら手に感触が残ってる気がする時もあって。
どんな夢なのだね。
怖い夢。
She confessed with an emotionless voice.
誰かを殺す夢。私は追いかけて、相手は逃げて、まるで狩り。最後は追い詰めて。
Is this about Incident 206?
ひねりつぶしたりしない。バレてしまうから事故に見せかける。そのために追って逃げ場を奪って、最後はみんな正気を失って道路に飛び出して。
Yeah, because this was very, very specific. And it does sound very similar. They died, and they were always people our age. Oh, okay. Yeah.
一人じゃない。何人も殺す。大した理由はない。私はそれを楽しんでる。恐怖に狂って絶望に泣き叫ぶ姿を見ているのが好き。だから繰り返す。
ただの悪夢だ。気にする必要はない。
Won't think they are.
そうよね。うん。夢だ。本当じゃないんだもん。もしもあんなことが 壊れてしまう。
Oh
ただの
boy.
夢を本当かどうか悩むのは肩こりのせいだろう。私がマッサージしよう。主に胸を。
Yes, that'll definitely help. Absolutely. Totally. 100%. Yeah, no doubt.
胸関係ないだろ。
I don't know. They obviously have something to do with it.
成田と話してると悩んでるのがバカみたい。今夜もここにいていい？
いけない理由があると思うのかね。
Oh gosh.
成田は夢。
So we're already
Mina.
talking about the stuff we discussed last route. You know things are gonna go downhill from there. I think it's gonna be okay for now. We're gonna find out some stuff.
無論見るとも。ただ頻繁にということはない。
どんな夢？
I scoured through my memories. I found some dreams of gruesome experiences I've been through, but they weren't something to mention at a moment like this. Therefore, I chose to speak of a dream that didn't seem any bit negative to me.
では最近見たおそらくは正夢となるだろう夢について話すとしよう。
Oh, this is nice. We've had this with like a few of the girls so far, like just this kind of laying down scene. It's nice to have it with her.
正夢？現実の延長か何かだったの？
そう遠くない未来、これは現実となる。
どんな夢なんだろう。
街を行く私のもとへ豊満な乙女が次から次へとやってきたかと思えば偉大なる成田様、ぜひ私の胸をお確かめくださいというのだ。
There's a reason it's a dream. It's because it didn't actually happen, and it won't actually happen.
は？
Not the right thing to say when you know you're in bed with a girl.
人々はついに私に確かめてもらうことこそ至高の名誉であると理解したのであろう。豊満への信仰を深めればこのようなことが起きても何ら不思議ではない。
Narita's the only guy who could screw up a situation like this.
むしろあるべき姿ではないだろうか。
つまり私がいても他の女性の胸を揉みたいと。
That's exactly what he's saying right now. Please hit him.
心配はいらない。
You appear
この夢に
too.
もちろんサクが登場している。
Don't worry, you're just one of the girls there. You're not the only one, but you're there as well.
そういう問題じゃない。
ああ、そうか。神の父である君以上の豊満はいない。これなら問題ないだろう。
Don't worry, I'll just fill a bunch of them up. But don't worry, yours are the best, by the way.
そうじゃない。
何がまずいのだろうか。
私がいるのに他の女の胸を揉むな。欲求が溜まってるなら私のを揉めばいいでしょ。
Oh, okay. If you're offering. I like how she's changed her attitude pretty quick on this. She made a face like she said something she shouldn't have. As though realizing the meaning of her words, she grew visibly red.
つまりこういうことだろうか。サクの胸ならいつでも揉んでいいと。
いつでもがいいわけないでしょ。
ならばいつなら。
二人きりの時とか。
Oh, you've messed up so bad.
今も二人きりだ。今のサクの発言からは今こそ揉んでくれと言っているように聞こえる。
違う。
All I hear in my head is mission failed. We'll get him next time.
ゆえに揉む。
Before I could touch them, however, Saku protested.
どうしたのかね。
なんかこのままただ揉まれるのも尺だと思って。
She wasn't completely against it, but it was clear that she was frustrated in some way. Honestly, I was very confident that she wouldn't have tolerated me fondling her if I had made it natural, so the exchange we just had clearly killed my chances.
だから好きって言ってくれたら。
Her words were bashful, and I had no trouble understanding her perspective. The terms she provided weren't even an obstacle for me. The conversation so far had put her outside the mood to be touched, and expressing how I felt would put her back in it. She was basically saying that I was allowed to touch her. Obviously, I had no trouble fulfilling her request.
愛しているよ、サク。
私も
He's gonna interrupt her. I knew it. Before she could finish, I put my hand on her divine breast. Narita is
もう少し空気読め
such a typical guy. Such a typical guy. Oh, that was great. Really great. The next day arrived. We finally received the necessary permission, so we went to visit Soriko. All the Atwalas hadn't gathered in one place in quite a while, so that day was a special exception. Though it mostly only worked out because Saku had met up with Tamao a few days ago and told her to come no matter what.
時のさ先生ももうすぐ戻れるかもだって
Oh, thank goodness, Soriko. We get to see you before the route ends. They've screwed you over in this game.
うん待ってるから一日でも早く帰ってらっしゃい
Soriko looked at all of us from atop her bed.
本当に早く帰りたいな
やっぱクラウンは全員揃わないとな。
The word all made the temperature of the room drop, most likely because that included one girl who could never join us again. However, no one pointed it out. Instead,
身勝手ぼっちの単独行動ヤンキーがいますので、空子が帰ってきたら記念に焼き土下座させましょう。
どんな記念だよ。
I don't know, that sounds a little intense to me.
あまり長居して迷惑になってはいけない。そろそろおいとましよう。
The others clearly wanted to talk some more, but we had to retreat from the room.
成田くん
うん
またね
I'm sorry, Sorko, I'm in love with another. You must stay your hand from me. The research building was one of the most well-guarded places in the academy. Those involved proudly claimed that they could fend off an entire company of JSDF. Though it was a question whether such security was even required. You needed to pass several security gates as you went in and out, and if you ignored the info layer guidance, security approached within 30 seconds. We followed the guide icons, which led us not to the exit, but to Tokino Yomasei's compartment in the research building. See what Tokino's up to. She's got all this information in here that we need. She'd been waiting for us, and after asking for our reports and impressions, she once again explained Soriko's condition.
過労です。
Well, I think that's nothing a little like prune juice can't fix, you know. I've been there before too, you know, you just gotta take something that'll loosen you up a bit. Miss Tokino sat in her chair with her slender legs crossed. The way she spoke made her appear completely unapproachable.
何事かあったのかね。
何がですか、成田真理。
いや、時の女子にしては珍しく落ち着きがないような気がしただけだよ。
This is second best girl right here. I couldn't tell whether I'd hit the mark with that, but she fell silent, looking unaffected. Normally, Tokino Yomasei maintained a cool facade no matter what happened, but that day she seemed on edge.
ところで時野先生空子の療養の理由は
以前にも伝えましたが、桂木空子の両親に不幸がありました。
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate, I agree. Miss Tokino made use of Saku's timely question to change the
や
subject.
っぱショックで。それにしちゃ長いけど。
空子は誰かと違って繊細なので、急な不幸が重なったのなら倒れても無理はないでしょう。自分、神経がワイヤーフック並みに頑丈なやつが羨まです。
Yeah, something like that.
俺がワイヤーフックなら、てめえはコンクリブロックだろうが。
Concrete blocks.
玉緒の言った通りですもう1ヶ月になります
空子は貴重な干支はある。高グレードの HMI です。万一のことがないよう万全を期しているのです。精神的動揺が HMI に与える影響は小さくありませんから。おそらく来月には戻れるでしょう。
She better. Probably the game will be over by next month.
わかりました
The explanation felt lacking, but Saku didn't press the matter. Tokino Yomasei was the expert among experts, so she trusted her.
それと ちょっとした確認なのですが、
何でしょうか、時の先生。
研究棟に移る直前の空子に普段と様子の違うところはありませんでしたか？
I don't know, I hardly see her, so I couldn't tell you.
それは先生の気になるようなことが何かあるということですか？
いいえ、単に担当医として状態を詳しく知っておきたいだけです。
And, you know, her mom's sister,
特に心当たり
her
は。
aunt. Saku turned around and looked at the others to confirm. They didn't seem to have noticed anything
わ
either.
かりました。では退出を。それと特に成田くん、ガイドのない場所に移動すると保安員が出動しますので、
Hey, what the
余計
heck?
なところへ行かないよう。
I would never dream of it.
承知しているとも。これまでの私が一度でも余計なことをしたかね。
成田は余計なことしかしてないんじゃ。
Maybe.
あんま良くなさそうだったな。
We Atolas walked together on our way back from the research building. Saku, Tamao, Eru were side by side, while I strode behind them. And behind me were Taigi and his maid. Though she wasn't an Atola, the maid accompanied Taigi everywhere except in the dorm and during lectures. She seemed to have become even more thorough with her task lately as well.
ご両親死にやがったとか。自分、あのタル中年はどうでもいいのですが、空子は辛そうです。
親子だもの。
Wait, was she calling Shinzen a walking barrel? I just caught on to that. Saku squinted and looked at the research building towards the room Soriko slept in. They were close friends, so of course she lamented the sudden tragedy that had befallen Soriko. The early summer greenery felt dazzling. It made the academy look truly lively, especially with all the students walking about. Every single soul in the world had their own unique story. As they said, one person's trash was another person's treasure. Seemingly worthless things were often a source of true joy and bliss for others. Everyone walked through the stage of their one irreplaceable life on their own.
ところでわからないことがあるのだが、いいかね。
I named that question at Taiki.
改まって何かな。僕に答えられることだといいが。
空子の見舞いの許可が突然降りた理由がわからない。
どうして僕にそれを？
I don't know, Taiki, you have some connections in the academy.
大義なら知っているかと思ったものでね。
A cold gust of wind swept by the previously warm area. The Etwalas had been requesting permission for a while, but they hadn't received a reply once. The sudden, unexpected visitation rights came completely out of left field.
体調が良くなったんじゃないのかな。もともと療養のための入院だ。面会で心理的影響が出るのを避けたのかもしれない。
Perhaps. Maybe something else. Taiki provided a reasonable excuse while making a nonchalant face. Was it just me or did he look tired?
本当にそれだけか？何の理由もないのか？
僕は専門家じゃない。詳しいところは時の先生でないとわからない。
Not that she would tell us.
成田、それに大義も。
Saku felt the strange air between us and joined in our conversation that brought back the warmth of our everyday life.
ちんたらしてっと置いてくぞ。
Hey, who are you calling a loser? I've never lost in a fight to you once. Smile walked ahead. The rest of us followed after as if nothing had happened. I reminisced about the sky I'd gazed up at long ago. Soriko Katsuragi, that was the name of a childhood friend that a man once known as Shinsui Mikado had 7 years ago. I planned to never reveal my identity to her, but the memories remained within me. I didn't regret enacting my revenge and firing the bullet into Shinzen Katsuragi. Shinri Narita had long since decided to prioritize revenge above all else. Indeed, my hands had opened a hole in Soriko's heart. I did want to find her to find bliss in life, but at the same time I destroyed hers to sate my bloodlust. A man who'd always claimed that change wasn't something to be feared had returned with a heart full of anger, lamenting the fact that everything had changed. I had no way to make it up to her, nor did I wish to. I'd crafted that farce by myself, thus I had no reason to make amends, since I didn't deserve to be forgiven. Shinri Narita planned to fulfill his oath, following his will until the very end.
成田、
Oh, yes? You know, I was just kind of monologuing to myself. I finally regained my senses upon hearing the voice from the chair ahead. We traveled to the cafeteria to take a break, but apparently I'd gotten lost in thought. Saku, Tamao, and Eru had accompanied me. Taigi had some business to take care of and had separated from us, taking his maid with him.
何回も呼んだのに返事もしないで。何か考え事でもしてたの？
Oh, you know, just thinking about enacting revenge and killing people that did me wrong. What about you? She furrowed her eyebrows and tilted her head. She had an eye for minor changes in mindset, so she'd picked up on my state even though I'd remained silent.
なるほど。君がインシグニアであるわけだな。
褒めても何も出ないわよ。
出すのは私だからね、主に。
Whoa, whoa, whoa! My highly tasteful joke made her glance at me like I was a Burman and tried to stomp on my foot. I nearly avoided the latter.
当たらなかったのが不満かね。
それよりも何？私にごまかさないで。
I would never. Narita, deflect a question or dance around it? No, couldn't do that. She said that, but honestly I had trouble putting my worries into words. A strange weight had entered my stomach.
それよりも何よりもサクとデカチチハンター N が自分の記憶よりも妙に仲いい気がするのですが、ここはどこのパラレルワールドですか？
Big Titty
そっちの
Hunter.
方が超疑問です。
Huh, that's quite the name. Quite the name. Eru had sat next to Saku as her knight, glared at her like a veteran detective trying to force an innocent man to confess a crime.
ふむ。
そんなことないと思うけど、エルの気のせいよ。そうよ、絶対に。
Like always, Saku revealed her rather lacking acting skills. Yeah, she's not very good at hiding a secret. The awkward manner in which she tried to play it off made not just Eru, but also Tamao squint.
真っ黒だな。
We did say we were going to reveal it tomorrow at lunch. I think that was what we said, right? Something like that, or tomorrow at dinner, one of those.
もしもの時は成田を埋めて自分は知らん顔。
We can pretend to know nothing. She means it too.
犯罪だっつうの。
What?
成田なら別にいいけど。
Tamao! What the frick? You were in love with me once. How could you say that? Thus, the pleasant atmosphere helped Shinri and Narita arrive at his answer. The academy appeared as rowdy as it had been during the last ball.
サク、先ほどの問いに答えよう。だが、聞けば悔いが残るかもしれないぞ。
知らないで後で悔いるより、自分の意志で決断するわ。
What a truly noble soul. The part of her had charmed Shinri and Narita more than anything else. Her strength had helped me gather my resolve and speak.
別れ際に空子が私を見た。
Okay.
印象に覚えがある。姿を消す直前の兜山みとりに似ていた。
I mean, we were one of the last people to see her, I believe, right? Everyone present found themselves at a loss for words. I mean, that's a pretty big revelation to just drop down on people. A man stood close to the group, just outside the entrance to the cafeteria. He had a mobile device right next to his ear.
これはこれは。なんとも素敵なことになりそうじゃないか。
Shut up, Shishikai. No one likes you. Knowing that no one was watching him, he grinned as though he couldn't contain his joy. Frickin' screw this guy. Omens oftentimes became reality. Nighttime. Something banged on the door like a bell warning of a coming storm. I opened the door and saw Eru, who appeared rather pale. I hadn't seen her like that since I'd forgotten to buy her limited edition release.
成田、成田、サクがいません。いないんです。どこですか？端末も部屋に置きっぱなしでレイヤーにも出ないんです。探してください。
ふむ、サクならここにいるが。
はあ、どうして成田の部屋に？おっぱい怪人が無理やり連れ込んだんですか？
I'll kill you dead.
いや、それよりもじゃないですが、空子が。
空子がどうしたの？
Soriko had vanished. I felt the world shatter in the distance. Ah, frick, here we go again. Alright, you guys, I'm gonna end it on a cliffhanger because I want to make sure we have time to cover everything that's about to happen. There's gonna be some stuff going down. I'm excited, but I want to make sure that I dedicate a few hours to making the next episode because we're gonna need it. But wow, okay. So we think Soriko is gonna disappear the way Mitori did. That's interesting. I think next episode is gonna be really good. I'm not sure if it'll be the final episode. I'll try to make it the final episode unless it's like a lot of hours. If it's like 2 or 3, I can do that. But I'll try to make it the last episode because I really want to know what's gonna happen, and I want to make sure that I have plenty of time to dedicate to it. But you guys, hope you're enjoying this. Saku's route's been great so far. I'm really enjoying the romance part of it, which, you know, Ineru's route was kind of lacking, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Just a little bit. But it's been coming back. That's been good. We're finding out some more information. We're already, like, getting into Incident 206 a lot sooner, I feel like, than I thought we would. But I wasn't sure how that was going to connect into this route. I wasn't sure where they were going with it. But, ooh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. But anyways, guys, hope you're enjoying it. And I will see you in the next episode.